Thank you. I appreciate my colleague yielding to me because I know he has to go to another subcommittee too. But I appreciate that, and I apologize in advance having to go to my other committee after this, so I'll just be here briefly. But it's nice to see you again, Mr. Secretary. It was a pleasure to have you in the Agriculture Committee yesterday, and thank you for giving us so much time there. And also for being here today. And Chief Tidwell, it's nice to see you again. My colleagues on the committee have mentioned some of their concerns with the budget, and I'll submit a variety of things for the record. I'm concerned that there's 9 programs that are zeroed out. In particular, the Forest Legacy Program, which has been very important to us in Maine. I'm concerned about the cuts at the Land and Water Conservation Fund. But I just want to focus my brief time on 2 other programs that actually are quite important to us and have your comments. First one is on the family forestry and forest stewardship. Coming from Maine, I know everyone has a lot of forests, but of course we think we have bigger challenges and more of everything. 86% of our state is forested, and I think that might be the highest percentage of any state. We don't always think about Maine or New England as having so many forests, but we're particularly proud of them, but we also have a lot of challenges and want to make sure that they're preserved and well taken care of. We have about 264 million acres of land, which are basically in private ownerships. Unlike many of the western states, we have virtually no federal land and a lot of private landowners. The Forest Stewardship Program leverages millions from our state budget and from landowners themselves. It's helped landowners learn how to better manage their land, navigate numerous challenges to help them determine how to change their land management in changing situations and adapting to new market conditions to stay financially viable. So that has been very important to us in very changing times. The forest products industry in our state has a big footprint. In 2016, the total economic impact of forest products was estimated at $8.5 billion. It accounts for more than 33,000 jobs. That may not seem a lot if you come from California, but in a state of 1.3 million people, it's very important to our state. But we've had a lot of changes in the forest products industry. In the last few years, we've seen 5 paper mills close their doors. That's been devastating to communities throughout our state and a huge change for us. My colleagues and I in the Maine delegation worked with our local industry and community leaders to request that the Economic Development Administration coordinate and mobilize its federal partners to participate in an economic development assessment team. The goal of the EDIT was to help the industry, along with the state, local, and federal leaders, not only to coordinate their work, but work together, combine their efforts and resources to support our forest industry. I spent about 3 days, and the groups did site visits around the state of Maine and learned a lot about our industry and our forests. And there were a lot of long-term strategic goals as well as some immediate next steps in what they were doing. The most direct request was for the Forest Service to work with industry to define specific technical assistance, data, and other strategic resources that could support the forest industry aspect of the strategic plan. These efforts are already underway within our state, and we know that there will be additional modeling and support through the Forest Service. So between the EDIT and the forestry industry and forestry stewardship program, they're just very important to us. And Mr. Secretary, if you'd like to comment, thank you. And Mr. Chief, if you want to, those are just things that we just hope will be there in the future and need your support and help.
I would comment on the fact that, Ms. Pingree, I think the way to accomplish more in tight budgetary times really is with public-private partnerships, and that's one of the ways we hope to do more with less. The forest stewardship program with private landowners is one of those, and I also come from a state where over 95% of them privately managed, and our citizens have utilized those, I think, in a very wise way, and develop some best practices along with our state foresters and our federal partners to do that. So I concur with you. Obviously, rural prosperity is a big part of what we do overall. I think Mr. Simpson earlier talked about timber and U.S. and agriculture. In Georgia and your state, timber is agriculture,
Right.
And that's the way we view it. So We're going to do everything we can from a rural prosperity in Maine. Means helping your small organic farmers, as we talked about yesterday, but it helps your private landowners in that renewable resource that grows so well in your beautiful state.
Thank you, and I do appreciate that there are a lot of similarities between Georgia and Maine, except the temperature, where we have a lot in common.
Our lobsters don't grow as well.
Yeah. And don't start trying.
Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.